So this session is about MySQL document store. I don't know, who never heard that MySQL was also a document store? You all know? No? Okay. So yes, MySQL is also a document store, and I will show you this. And so it's a JSON document store, but we also benefit from this document store of all the nice traditional RDBMS feature. So yeah, this slide is not needed. This line is very fast. I am just living in Belgium, so I'm jet lagging a bit. And this is why I won't do MySQL, but I will keep selling MySQL. So sorry, right? So document store, let's see, why do we want to do that? Because developers, they don't like SQL anymore, right? When I go somewhere, every time they say, oh no, SQL, come on, please, we don't want to write these queries anymore. So the developers and the young developers going, getting out from school, they don't like SQL. So it's a reality, it's a fact. Also, it's very complicated to do a proof of concept, right? People say, oh, show me what can you do? And they spend more time trying to design their relational tables than really coding the cool feature they want to do, right? So,
I'm gonna laugh at your jokes.
oh, but this was not a joke.
Oh.
Sorry. So what the people want? So people wasn't just to use objects most of the time, right? So this is why the developers. So who is developer in the? So I know about my jokes. None. Oh, I can do plenty then. So the developers they love using ORM, but the DBA we really hate that. I've been DBA for a long time, and the worst thing I've seen are this Hibernate, SQL Alchemy stuff. It's horrible, right? Terrible, terrible. So here, if you keep the user wants to use that anyway because they want to use objects, it's possible to use this object by passing the ORM and just storing your object in MySQL. But also something very important, but I'm not very sure about this fact, because they want to keep their data safe. But when I see the amount of people using some documents stored are completely not data safe, I said, maybe that's not true. You don't care about your data, right? But usually they do. So, and this is what a relational database can provide you. It can provide you data integrity with normalization, constraint. That's a good name, constraint, right? People don't like constraints. I don't in SQL, but it's possible. Atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability. So being ACID compliant, it's very important. And a relational database can be ACID compliant, and it also supports transactions. And of course, the SQL that the developer doesn't like, but it's also a very powerful language that a lot of people needs sometimes. So using MySQL as a document store, it is schemaless. So you can't, you don't need to think about what will be your schema and how you're gonna organize your data. You just have to store your data. No schema design, no normalization, no foreign keys, no data type, anything. Very quick. So this is what people are looking for. Flexible data structure. You don't need to by night changing a schema, adding an index on a 1 terabyte table and stuff like that, changing columns or stuff like that. This is not needed. And also you have embedded arrays, embedded objects in your document. So you can have a very large document. I will show you after that. This is not the case with all document stores. And yeah, sometimes you don't know how to store your data or to organize it in tables. So you just store your data without having to organize it. And you can use it, persist objects from your application without using an ORM. And it uses JSON, which is very close to the front end. Everybody now is speaking JSON, right? And very easy to learn. So this is how me as an old DBA see data, and this is how the young developers, they see data, right? Yeah, Mike, you just see it in COBOL, so I know, sorry. Not even like that. This is the future for you. But what if there was a solution to put all this together, right? In the same solution, same software that is very reliable, that is a proven technology, and that with a large community, a large tool, you know, that supports that. So what should we choose? And in MySQL, we decide maybe why not both? Why we could not provide you the possibility to have SQL and NoSQL together in the same database, which is MySQL, right? So now with the MySQL document store, SQL is completely optional. So you can use MySQL without SQL. Yes, completely optional, right? So this is a solution for everybody. I will go skip this one, but just to say that you benefit from everything. So it's ACID, but it's also schemaless, but it has also transaction and all that kind of stuff. So let me explain you the solution. The solution, it's based on the JSON data type that has been made in MySQL 5.7, right? So we have now a real data type, a binary in MySQL. Before, if you wanted to store JSON, you were using text or large text, and you were putting your JSON there, but you could not do anything with that. Here, you have a real data type that you can use more than 30 functions to the JSON, and you can also index it. And I will show you how that, if times allow. The document, this is very important, can be large as 1 gigabyte. Most of the time, some very, let's say, known document store limits that to 16 megabyte. So much bigger here. And because there was a lot of people asking for, we want more than 16 megabyte. Also, to do NoSQL, so to be able to use CRUD operation instead of SQL, you will need to use the new X protocol and the XDev API using, for example, the shell, but also all our connectors, right? The shell, Miguel shows you how it looks like. And you can also use this CRUD operation with relational tables. So you can also not only documents, but also tables without knowing one word of SQL. So this is the connectors that are that MySQL provide you to be able to use the X protocol, right? And this is the shell. With the shell, but I will bypass. I don't want to talk too much with this. But with the shell, we can do document store, XDev API, and we can also import JSON. We can do a lot of other stuff, but Miguel talked about it already a bit. So to set up this, so what do you need to do to have now to transform or to modify your MySQL server to a document store? In fact, you have to do almost nothing. You just need to install MySQL. You need to install the shell if you want to operate it, but it's not even mandatory. And you need to install the MySQL connector that goes with your application server, right? So, for example, for PHP or for Python, these are the name of the package for Linux, for example. And nothing else. You just need to open your firewall on 33060, which is the X protocol port for the document store, or if you are using the router, because you can use HA for your document store, exactly the same as Miguel and Kenny showed you before. You can use the new port 64460 or 64470 for the router. So now, are there MongoDB users here? 1, okay, 2, 3, 4. Okay. You will be my assistant now. Thank you. You're promoted. So if you want to, I wanted to show you how easy it was to use the MySQL document store, right? So the first thing I had in mind is, okay, let's really use data that all MongoDB users know. And it is the restaurant collections that is made in the tutorial and available on the web for Mongo. So here I use Mongo export, the collection restaurants, and I put all these documents in one file. And you can see this is more than 25,000 documents, not records, but it's documents. And to import them, with the shell, we use the util global object and import JSON. Give the name of the file where it is. I say, okay, I want to put that in a schema that we call document store. My collection will have the same name, restaurants. And as it is MongoDB, I want to convert JSON OID true. That's it, only that. I just do one line, and I've imported all my data from Mongo to MySQL. So I've made no configuration change in MySQL. I didn't use a very, let's say, a strange command or whatever, just one command from the shell. Yeah, people don't like it because it's really easy. It's as easy as the InnoDB cluster, in fact, right? As you can see, we improve our UI more and more in MySQL to make stuff easy for you. And so now that we have this collection, let's query it, right? So we do restaurant find, and we will have all the records, but it's a bit too much, right? So we're gonna put a limit. So I'll do restaurant find limit 1, and this is the document. So this looks like a normal JSON document that it's stored in MySQL, right? Exactly as you were stored in a NoSQL database. Then you can say, oh, let's just retrieve some fields, some attributes for the documents. So in this case, name and cuisine, and I want only 2 documents. So this is how you do that. Very easy, right? And in this case, you say, okay, I want to make a criteria. I want Italian cuisine, right? Like pizza, and the name and the cuisine. And this is how you do it. Very, very easy to be able to retrieve the documents, and very fast also. You can use in and specify more cuisine, like in this case, but the first 2 are Italian, so no Spanish cuisine. The syntax is quite different. So there are 4 people using MongoDB, right? So who never did anything with NoSQL? You have never? Could you? So you will be my assistant now. So could you tell me what I'm trying to do here? Maybe I have to give you this. It should be easy.
Yes, well, I'm seeing that you're looking for restaurants that are French cuisine and are not in the Manhattan borough.
Perfect.
And you're pulling 3 fields and limiting the result to 2.
Yes. So you never did anything. Sure. Perfect. So this is what we want to achieve, in fact, to make it very easy for everybody, even people who never tried, right? So if you ask to do that in SQL to somebody, maybe it will be like getting VI for the first time, right? You will have a random password almost, right? So in MongoDB, this is how it looks like. So you need to say, okay, I want to find cuisine French. The borough should not be in regular expression Manhattan. Then you say, I don't want the ID, because by default it shows you the ID. And then you say, but I want the name, the cuisine, and the borough, limit 2. Exactly same result, but more complicated. So our goal is not to replace MongoDB, is to be better than MongoDB and to be easier than MongoDB and any NoSQL language, right? Document store. So this is why we keep this very easy syntax. So for the developers, so this is my very good web designer skills. This is, if you want to do this, it's very easy. You can do that in PHP, and I will show you the code. So this is how you do. So you use the connector for the Dev API, Xdev API, X protocol. You connect to the MySQL. You get the schema, you get the collection, you find everything. So with the search criteria that has been created here, right? That here you can see what it looks like. And then you do execute, fetch all, and you display them. So I was able to create this out of MySQL without using any SQL at all, only CRUD operation. In this case, find, right? So very easy to achieve that. Not a single line of SQL. My colleague Dave says always, okay, you have a clean code, right? So this is the document store object summary. You can find it on the document, but you can see in the documentation, you can see that you have collection, and you can use CRUD operation also on a relational table very easily, the same way we did now. And you can add, find, modify, remove. There are the 4 CRUD functions, and you have also an index function like create, drop, and get the index. So all you need to know is in the Xdev API user guide that you can find online on the mysql.com website. We care about your data, like I said earlier, which means that we are using InnoDB. So all your documents are stored in InnoDB, and everything it's by default durable. So we enable the full durability of InnoDB and of binary logs also. So you have everything, and it support all the transaction isolation level that you know when you are using InnoDB, right? So this is why if you store your document in MySQL, if you keep the default, if you have a crash, you don't lose your documents. Everything that has been committed and that has been told to the application, we have committed the data is committed because we do care about your data. So this is just an example. Rene is gone, but I wanted to put his name. He's gone. So Rene is the guy of ProxySQL. So we start a transaction, we add a document, we find and we see the document is there now, but I haven't committed, so I do a rollback and you see document is gone. So commit, rollback, all that that you have in usual transaction, it's possible also with the CRUD operation in NoSQL with document store. So we have document store, very cool. We have CRUD operation, nice, easy for the developers. We have ACID, the DBAR API. But what makes the MySQL document store so unique? So in fact, this is a challenge for all the 4 developers using Mongo that earlier, right? If I want to list the best restaurants of each type of cuisine we had and just show the top 10 and of course the first on top, how can I do that in NoSQL? Who has an ID? Sorry, in blue, you said you're a Mongo user. Do you know how to do that in Mongo? It's complicated, and the Mongo user complain to Mongo because they say, "Oh, this is complicated. Please help us." And what is the idea of Mongo? Is to say, "Okay, let's think about it," and they have planned maybe to bring SQL back, right? They have to bring SQL back. We don't. We have SQL. So what we do is say, okay, these are documents, but what I will do is write a very nice SQL here that use common table expression that we have in MySQL 8. We use window function that we have in MySQL 8. And you can see very quickly, we can have the result. And this is how we do that. But there is something very important here is these are documents. This is not a relational table, right? This is just JSON document, and from the JSON document, I am able to do this. So we have the possibility to write this very clean code with like I did before, right? With using CRUD operation. But when it is needed, you can use SQL like this in your, this is PHP, right? And all that exactly in the same session. So my application doesn't need to reconnect on another port or create a new connection to MySQL. In the same session, I can just play with object and with a result set from a SQL statement, right? All in the same MySQL X session. So this is how you can mix that. I can do SQL if I want, and this is the result, or I can use a CRUD operation if what I want to do can be, it's possible to do with CRUD operation, right? So now, for example, in my document, I want to have the maximum rating of the 10 max rating that any restaurant got. And from document store, it's very complicated to do that because this rating are arrays inside of a JSON document. But you can say, okay, I want to use SQL. So here I'm using SQL. You can see it here. And I will fake or tell the JSON to act as a table. So I use the JSON table here, and I want to use all the score that are in the array grade, and I want to use it as a column, right? And this column should be an integer, and I just want to have the max of it. And then I find this from, and you can see it was 25,000 documents not indexed. It's quite rapid, right? It's very quick. And but now you say, okay, but Fred, you said that we don't want to use SQL, so my application just consume JSON. I've created an application, you know, all this rapid modern type of that has all this curl API, all in JSON. So when you do that, you return me records, not JSON documents, right? Okay, no problem. Just tell return me a JSON object, and you have JSON objects here. So you have JSON document. You let's say you do like if it was a table to get the information you want, and you return a JSON document after that. Nobody else can do that. So as there are a lot of DBA, I prepare some slide here, but we're gonna very quick, unless you say me, oh, we are very interested on that. But what's the role of the MySQL DBA now in this? So the role is easy. It's like usual. Find the non-optimal lookups, because people will do lookup and use all these documents and find and retrieve data out of it, and then create indexes to speed up all this all the queries that you can find. So first thing, table scan. Full table scan is maybe the slowest thing in MySQL, right? In any database. So this is how you can find that. So in performance schema, now we have something new, which is query sample text in MySQL 8 that will give you exactly an example of a query. So you can use that query directly without having to try to understand it. With because if you have already played with performance schema, usually the digest of a query is very complicated to read, and because it is split in different parts, and just to be able to digest it, in fact. But now we have a full example of the query. So yeah, I have wrote a blog about that if you want to know more details. But this is how it looks like. So I do that. I did the query on my doc store, right? And in the query simple text, I have one example of the query I run. This one is the only one. So, but this one was a full table scan, right? Example. The other one we have done with the max, it's also a full table scan. So currently we have done almost only full table scan when I was playing with different cuisine and on the machine. And I have always examples. So this one, this type of query has been run 5 times, for example. So now that I have the query, I can use the explain. In 8 to 18, so the next release, you will be even possible to do explain analyze. So it will run it and give you the accurate detail, accurate numbers of everything. Here are estimation. So here you can see I was doing a full table scan. The optimizer estimated 24,000. It was 25, in fact, 25,000 rows that has been retrieved from my collection. So yes, it's a full table scan. So what should we do? We should create an index, right? And what were we looking for here? We were doing a lookup on cuisine, right? But cuisine, don't forget, it's an attribute of a document. It's a property of a JSON document. So what we do, we create index here, and you say, okay, I want to create an index that I will call cuisine index. And the field I will retrieve, I give the path, so $.cuisine required. And I say, okay, it's a text of 20. That should be enough for the cuisine. And it creates an index. That index will be materialized. It use disk space in the table space, of course, of this table. But I will be able to use to retrieve data. So if you don't want to create using query operation and you want to do it in SQL to create that index, this is how we create the same index. So this is exactly the same statement. And we do here, we create a virtual column. In fact, we retrieve that data virtually, and we create a real index on that data. This is how it works. Yeah, here you have seen maybe this notation is new for you, right? So what does that mean? In fact, it means JSON encode, JSON extract. Because it was very, let's say, boring to write every time all this. So JSON extract, if you want to remove it, we just do one arrow, right? And for both, it is like this. So this is just a shortcut. So now that we have created the index, we do the same explain, and you can see that now we just go retrieve 2 rows from 2 documents from the collection, much faster and using indexes. So for you DBA, it's exactly the same job. You just have to check what the developers do and tell them, okay, we need to create some index or create them for them, right? So for the curious, this is what the collection looks like in SQL. So if you want to see what it looks like, we have a doc column, which is a JSON data type, ID that is generated and extracted from the document if you provide one, and this is the primary key. This generated ID has been optimized so it's kind of a UID, and it has been optimized for InnoDB to be sure that it's being sequential, so you don't split the pages when you insert data. And then you have this cuisine, that is a text, right? And it's virtual. And then you have the index on this cuisine field. So in 8.0.17, we have multi-valued index. So we can use JSON contains, member of, JSON overlap function on arrays inside documents in JSON. And we have also JSON schema validation. You know, it's always the same. People say, oh, we don't want schema, we want JSON. We give them JSON, they say, yeah, but I would like to have schema in my JSON, right? So, okay, so we do that. So now we have also a validation for your schema. So this is an example. For example, there is a document which has several grades, or an array of grades. And I want to see, oh, is 38, that grade, member of any documents, and show me that document. And you say, oh yeah, there is one, this one, it has 38, but this is an array, right? And this is an element of an array. And in MySQL 8.0.17, we can, so for example, here, if I check, we do a full table scan to find that. But now it's possible to add an index also on these arrays, right, for score. And then if I do the explain, I'm using the index. So you are able to index members of arrays that are part of a document, a JSON document. This is very cool also. So now the last part is on schema JSON validation, right? And for example, here I said, okay, I want to validate a property cuisine, and I want it to be a string, and that string should be have a max length of 20, not more, right? So when I have that, we have this function, JSON schema valid, and you parse all your document. Here I limit it, but you say, okay, this one as a 0, it means it's longer than 20 character. Yeah, when I saw this thing the first time, I said, yeah, it's cool, but not very useful, to be honest, because yeah, my documents are already in my collection. So what do I benefit? Oh, I know afterward that it's not good. So you can here see a report. So JSON schema validation report. Yeah, cool. I knew that already because I wrote the validation. But this is cool now, is that you can add a constraint with the validation inside of the constraint. So next time you're gonna add a document that is too long, you will not be able to add that document. The application will receive an error, say, okay, the max length cuisine constraint has been violated and you cannot add that document. So this is very cool. So what do we gain? Data integrity. We are completely ACID compliant, transaction, SQL, schemaless, flexible data structure, and very easy to start because we are using CRUD operation. You can use MySQL without SQL. So yeah, other reason to go for MySQL 8, because don't forget it's time to move to MySQL 8. Some books written by colleagues on document store, JSON data type, the shell, all that are new books available. And thank you very much. And don't forget, it's time to upgrade to MySQL 8. Thank you.